What's up, everybody? How we doing? Believe it or not, I'm going to talk about LinkedIn today, which is all anyone ever wants from me. So I'm going to basically describe what I do and why I think it's working and what I would do if I were one of you. And we're just starting out because I only really started this game a couple of years ago, and it really wasn't clicking for a while, and then it started clicking. So I think there's a lot of value in just sort of sharing why I think it started clicking. But to get started, I made a LinkedIn secrets course, and if you stick around, you may or may not be able to get it for free at the end of this speech. But I make this statement: building a personal brand on LinkedIn is the fastest, most efficient, highest leverage way to grow a startup that's ever existed. Does anybody agree with that? Because, well, I don't know if I fully agree with that, but I said it anyway. To modify it, I actually do agree with this statement. The ability to create world-class organic social media content and then furthermore amplify that with ad spend is definitely the fastest, most efficient, and highest leverage way to grow a startup that's ever existed. And a little more on that. TikTok created the interest-based algorithm in 2017. The other guys followed. Shorts, Reels, all that stuff. LinkedIn doesn't quite work that way. It's still like kind of a second and third degree connection algorithm that you're trying to play. But this thought leadership ad phenomenon, everybody know what a thought leadership ad is? Show of hands, maybe. So the idea is this: you can post away, and when you see that you have a real banger, you know the platform loves it already, and you can put ad spend behind it, and it's incredibly efficient because you already know that the platform wants that content organically. And that loop is something that helps you, the little guy, the individual, way more than larger companies. It just allows you to iterate way faster on content creation and figure out what works than someone who has a much slower process. And overwhelmingly, people are on social media to connect with people and not companies. So these dynamics have combined to where I believe that the future of B2B marketing looks more something like this. Very sort of like bringing you along for the journey with a lot of detail and reality to it. Then, let's say, a current snapshot of the Salesforce blog. This is real. So over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my journey, why I think my content works, and where I'd focus if I were you. And if you've never heard of me or what I do, I'm Adam Robinson. I'm the founder and CEO of retention.com. I post a lot on LinkedIn. I get a lot of engagement. My company that I started 5 years ago is retention.com. I bootstrapped it to 20 million ARR in 4 years. And I just started RB2B last March and got it to 5 million ARR in 13 months with 5 people. And that was entirely using LinkedIn as a distribution channel. You can follow me on LinkedIn by scanning that little QR code right there. But let's jump into it. So, like I said before, was able to get this company, RB2B, which does website visitor identity at the person level. Very simple product, freemium motion. Those are the real-time SaaS metrics right there if you want to check it out. But I was able to get that to 5 million ARR with the help of my incredible team of 4 other people. In just 13 months with this incredibly powerful engine. And this has kind of been my LinkedIn followers over time. I don't think it means that much, other than I think it's a really good proxy for how I understand the game. And there was definitely an aha moment, which I will explain to you in a second. So has anybody heard of this company, of this team, Jasper? So I was sharing an office with these guys for 2 years before they started this company. And we were just some schmucks stuck at 3 million ARR. We were both trying anything to get our startups unstuck. And at the time, my company Get Emails was at $250,000 a month, monthly recurring revenue. And Dave was at 225, the CEO of Jasper. And I love telling this story just because I don't think anyone knows how big something's going to be when you start it. He was just trying to get a company that was bigger than $250,000 a month. And this text was about Jasper. First company had the idea 7 days ago. Hopefully this is my Get Emails, which is what my company was called, which is just crazy because this is what happened next. They went 0 to 50 million with 5 people in a year. And that inspired me to get on this content creation journey because at the time, Get Emails, which is now retention.com, was 12 million ARR and I had 6 employees. And, you know, I watched these guys create a unicorn in a year in the office that I was sitting in. And I was like, I can do that too. These guys aren't that much smarter than me. And I was trying to figure out how to create the maximum amount of awareness in a TAM that you can. And this book by Dave Gerhardt really sold me that the founder brand and the founder story is a very compelling way to go about doing it. And his basic argument is that most companies are started for a reason. And if you can really get that story down of why that company was started, and you can tell it because it normally involves you, that's just a really compelling story. The way social media is set up, it spreads really, really effectively. So I would highly recommend getting this book and reading it. If you're sitting here, you're probably kind of interested in this subject. So I think it's a worthwhile read. And why else should you post on LinkedIn? So for me, it's creating this amazing revenue opportunity. It's deals, it's targeted outbound, but there are also these amazing other benefits. Like anyone you're recruiting is going to go look at your LinkedIn page and look at the thought leadership content you're posting. So you can communicate what you're all about, why you're doing what you're doing in this somewhat passive way. And anybody that you're dealing with, it's just going to move them down the funnel closer towards you. Investors will feel like they know you already, and your brand will very likely be elevated in the partner ecosystem that you operate in. And I saw all these things happening before I actually had revenue coming from this. And it was pretty exciting to me because that stuff is normally stuff you have to work really hard at as the CEO of a company. And I had the classic objections that I think any CEO would have when I started trying to internalize that I was going to become this content creating influencer type guy. I said I did not want to be famous. I did not want to post every day. I did not want to be on this social treadmill, unable to get off. I didn't want to post against the best people at posting in the world, knowing that I knew nothing about it. I didn't want to have to learn a new game from scratch. I'm wrong a lot of the time with product and marketing, which I think I'm pretty good at, but I at least know why I did what I did and why I thought what I thought. This social stuff to me was just like, I have no idea why I'm doing what I'm doing. And, who has time to do any of this stuff? Like, I think if you're sitting here, I'm lucky to have you listening to me, but you're probably a pretty busy person. And the idea that you're going to just wall off hours per week to create content is a difficult pill to swallow. And I think the easy way to overcome these objections in your own mind is, first of all, being locally famous literally helps everything that you do in business. And I went over some of the things a couple slides ago. I'm up here talking to you guys. You're all in my target market. I didn't have to pay any money. They might even pay me if I asked. I don't know. But for our other business, retention.com, I have to pay $50,000 to do stuff like this. So that's just an example. The same goes for, I'll make a post, very subtle, about how the month went. Say we're hiring for 9 roles, and we got like a very senior technical product engineer that just raised his hand. Incredible fit. It helps everything. And more importantly, you won't actually really be famous. Like, it's not like I walk around the street and anybody says it's Adam Robinson, other than like a couple times. And at business events, it usually happens once. But the point is, you're not really famous. So being afraid of being famous is not valid, I don't think. And then all of the other objections, I think you can start with a ghostwriter. You can see what it's like to write content that works on LinkedIn through someone else doing it and spending a small amount of time with you. And then you can see what it's like to come alive on a platform and see if that excites you or not. So you can start the journey with somebody else writing. This was my ghostwriter when I started, Tommy. If you scan his LinkedIn and reach out to him, I'm sure he'd really appreciate that. But he's who got me started. I write all my posts now, but Tommy can help you get started. So now in the aha moment, before the breakthrough moment, I was trying to get demos for a SaaS product that was selling to Shopify store owners. And my content was getting really good. I mean, that's a pretty good post about something that I really don't have much to do with. I'm not a direct-to-consumer marketer, but the content was really good. But I noticed that when I would post about my own SaaS and a problem that I knew other people were experiencing in 2023, there was a real come to Jesus about human being BDRs. That a lot of people were talking about behind closed doors, and not many people were talking about the reality of it in public, just because of how painful the implications were. But like that's an example of something that was like about my experience in my own SaaS, and it resonated hundreds of times more than the stuff that was not directly about my own problems. So I had that happen. I was on vacation in Santa Fe with my friends and my wife, and I sat down to write 3 LinkedIn posts like I always did. We had an 8 p.m. dinner. I sat down at 6:30 to write. I walked out at 7:30, and I was like, man, like, I think I just wrote 3 total bangers. If I did, I understand this LinkedIn machine. If I do not, then I'm kind of like back to where I was before, and I don't really know why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then dropped all 3 of those the next week, and they were just like epic, successful sort of posts. And I really thought I came up with what LinkedIn wants from me and felt like I could just keep doing it. And what was it? The before was I was trying to write for e-commerce store owners. And number one, they're kind of hanging out on Twitter more anyway. And number 2, I'm not one of them. The e-com content was other people's pain and not my own. And I was still trying to figure out what actual great content coming out of me was. And then after this revelation, I was writing for B2B SaaS revenue leaders who do their job on LinkedIn, and I'm one of them. And I had a tumultuous journey in 2023, like many SaaS companies did. And I was talking about the problems I had that they probably would have only talked to their spouses about in public, which is, it is what it is. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's really what resonated or what worked for me. And I became completely aware of what great is. And just a couple minutes on why I think this is working so well. So there's a phenomenon on social media where if it's Instagram, you need to look skinny or rich. If it's LinkedIn, you need to look smart and successful. If you're just willing to be human in the most human way possible, it will cut through the noise. It sounds very basic and simple, but it's incredibly hard for people to do, to share painful moments, to be vulnerable, all of this stuff. But if you can take the position, especially in the world of AI, that you're trying to create content that maximizes your humanity and kind of at least parts of the tumultuous journey that we are all on, by the way, it will just be your secret weapon. I don't know how else to say it. The hardest post I ever had to write was in 2024 when we were down for the 4th month in a row, and I was being honest, and I had no idea when it would turn. And then it turned, and everyone loves you for it even more. So that's number 1, be as human as possible. Number 2, I think that my perspective as someone who's bootstrapped $25 million in ARR and is posting about the journey is incredibly valuable to other founders who are not quite there. Everybody in this room has incredibly valuable perspective to share. It may not be exactly that, but you have to keep in mind that that is what gives weight to your words. It's your experience and the angle that you're coming from that is going to be valuable for people. So that's number 2. Number 3, I'm not just working in public. I have takes on other stuff. I thought this was a really good take on VC versus bootstrap, which is something I talk about a lot. And number 5, I try to amplify my humanity every opportunity I get. I use a lot of video, which I would not recommend when you start, because LinkedIn is mainly about nailing the text post and the video is kind of like an append. But I do it to try to create human connection. This is a great example. I was getting a bunch of shitty Glassdoor reviews, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to make, because we lay people off all at once. Whenever that happens, you just get wrecked. So I was like, I'm going to just read all of the negative reviews and make a LinkedIn post about it. So it was kind of like, it was a really good post. You should check it out. But anytime I can amplify, what it is like to be me in this role at this time, I seize the opportunity. And this is a really important one. Whenever we start doing post teardowns in the community or something like that, somebody will show a post that is an advertisement for their product. Guys, nobody wants to read that shit. That is not what social media is all about. That is why ads don't work that well. So, the magic place you can get into is you are creating content that your audience has natural demand for, and you put the little visit my website link in the post, and people will be like, oh, like 4 or 5 posts after they read it, they'll be like, I like this guy. I wonder what he does. Click through. There's like 100% of the traffic for RBDB comes from this. So, the hard part is actually figuring out how to clearly, consistently, and constantly reinforce this narrative of who you are in the mind of the public in ways that are relevant to your audience, that don't really sell your product, but they're tangential issues that people are struggling with. That's the magic. This is a really easy idea to say and a really hard one to execute on. There's this idea of content pillars that anyone who's in the game will nod their head when you say content pillars. And there's this guy, Justin Welsh, who I think has a big spreadsheet of like, oh, you need your 3 things that you talk about, and then your sub-ideas, and then, the post types of the sub-ideas. Here's the problem with that. That is incredibly true. You have to have those things, but they have to be things that actually resonate with your audience also. So it's not like you can just write these 3 things down and that can be something that anyone cares about. This process has to happen over time. You develop these topics that become you as you see a post hit. Why does a post hit? A post hits because you found something in your prolific zone. What is a prolific zone? It is something that is authentic to you, which is very important, because if it's not authentic to you and people come after you, which they will, because you will get haters, it is very hard emotionally to defend something that you do not believe deeply. So it's something that is authentic to you, that is not mainstream, because mainstream is just noise. And it's not so far out that it's crazy either, because crazy is not good. Nobody will take you seriously. But it's in the middle of crazy and mainstream, where you're going to have people on one side that just absolutely love you for it, and then you're going to have a small percentage of people who hate you. They want you to die. They want your kids to die. And that's great, because that's what social media wants. So you start posting. You have some general ideas of topics you can talk about, and then you're going to walk in one morning, you'd be like, holy cow, that got 500 times the engagement I thought it was going to. That might be, is it in my prolific zone? Do people hate me? Yes. Do most people like it? Yes. And then I would go a week later or so and try to write a similar post about that topic from a different angle and see what happens. And then if it hits again, then that has become one of your pillars. So why my stuff works, in my opinion: number 1, my authenticity cuts through. Number 2, my perspective is valuable. Number 3, it's not just building in public. I got takes about other stuff. Number 4, I amplify my humanity. Number 5, I don't really sell. And number 6, I am clearly, constantly, and consistently reinforcing this idea of who I am over and over and over again across channels. And number 5, I found my prolific zone, right? Like these takes, bootstrap versus VC, as confidently as I declare that nobody should ever use VC, obviously that's nonsense. but I still say it because the people who think it's nonsense love to give hate to the post, which helps. So where would I focus if I were starting out today? My audience lives on LinkedIn, but what if yours does not? I think past a certain point, probably a few million ARR, even if your audience doesn't live on LinkedIn, you should have a minimum viable LinkedIn presence for all of those other beautiful reasons like recruiting, partnerships, investors, all that stuff. I happen to be in the lucky spot where my buyers live on LinkedIn, and I'm kind of one of them. But, and by the way, this was like the very first seed that got the LinkedIn thing started for me. I was at a trade show kind of like this, except it was for like internet marketers, like the underbelly of the internet kind of thing, because with about 5 years ago, we thought they were our ICP. And I was listening to somebody from digitalmarketer.com interview John Cronstadt, and he was like, if you were at 5 million in revenue today, what is the one thing that you would do differently that you didn't do during that whole 5-year Kajabi run that ended in a $2 billion exit? And John said, I would start posting on LinkedIn as the CEO every day. And he didn't elaborate on it on stage. And I was like, that's a very strange thing because none of these people even know what LinkedIn is. So I pulled him off the stage afterwards and I was like, why did you say that? And he said, here's why. If you watch Yellowstone, the show, John Dutton does not have his vision, his mission, vision, values written on the wall. But if you watch a season of that show, you know what it's like to be a cowboy at John Dutton's ranch. And he's like, this LinkedIn thing, it will give everybody who wants to work with you a very clear idea of what it's like to work in your business. And instead of recruiting being a push operation, it becomes a pull operation. And that alone will justify the hour a day you spend on it. And I was like, that's really interesting. So it got me going towards this, then I read the Gerhard book. Then I started talking to some more people about how I actually would go execute it. But that was a guy. Kajabi is this like edu platform that sells to internet marketers. Like they have nothing to do with LinkedIn, nothing to do with go-to-market. And his one thing that he would do as a CEO at 5 million in revenue was post on LinkedIn every day. Just thought that was amazing. So one of our retention.com customers in the e-com business, this guy sells 30,000 leather handbags per week. It's made in Mexico. It's a brand called Portland Leather Goods. He saw what I was doing on LinkedIn. He's like, I'm going to start messing around with this. So he spends 30 minutes per week, one time, opens up his laptop. His assistant, Mariana, sits behind him, and they just record 7 videos, or maybe it's 5 batches per session, about whatever he has going on. Now this guy has gotten a little bit of a following. I mean, it's nothing like mine is, but he's got maybe 20,000 followers. His last 4 executive hires have come inbound through LinkedIn of people just being like, I love your energy. I love what you have going on. Wells Fargo yanked a $20 million working capital line from him last year. And through LinkedIn, a banker that wants to work his deal when he sells his company came in and said, I'll get you that. I'll solve that in one day. So this is the type of inbound that this guy's getting. I saw him when he opened his Austin store and we were eating ice cream at Amy's Ice Cream afterwards. And he was like, Adam, like, how do I amplify this? Like, how do I get more benefit from this? Because it's just like 30 minutes per week and it's giving me so much back. So again, not direct deal benefit, but like this guy's spending a small amount of time doing this like very top of funnel, casting the net stuff on LinkedIn, and he's seeing enormous benefit from it. So this is what I would do personally because I actually like video if I wasn't in B2B. If I was in B2B, I would do what Megan Bowen's doing. And Megan runs, you guys probably heard of Chris Walker. I kind of hacked a lot of the stuff that Chris Walker does. I think he did a very good job at figuring out what video plus LinkedIn means. So Megan is the CEO of the agency that Chris started. And this is what she has done for years. And this is an amazing LinkedIn playbook. So if you know who your ICP is, just start on a multi-year outbound connection campaign. People accept connection requests. Doesn't matter who it's from. Almost everybody accepts almost every connection request. If you don't, you are rare. Everybody that I've spoken to, it's been like a 90+% connection accept rate. So start doing that. Start posting daily and start trying to get good at the game. As you start getting better at these posts, they will find their way in front of people who have accepted those connection requests. She also hosts a podcast and does guest slots as part of this whole effort, which I would recommend doing because that's just an amplifier. But the real magic of this is you wait 60 days after someone accepted your connection request, and then you reach out to them, and by then they literally think that you're a celebrity. It is amazing. And this, I have this LinkedIn consultant I mentioned in my post named Alec Paul. This is literally what people hire Alec Paul to do. So the Gal Aga, Sam Jacobs, this is their entire playbook. They all sucked at posting when they started working with Alec. Alec gets them a lot better, but he is doing this for them, and it works. He will tell you LinkedIn is the most incredible conversation opener of all time. If you have a dog shit product to sell after that, it's not going to be that helpful, but it will be really amazing at opening conversations if done this way. So this is a hack that I did. Chris Walker, I'm friends with him. I'm a big fan. Right when I started posting, I was driving back from Aspen, like 17 hours back to Austin, and I was alone. I couldn't have done this with my wife or in the car because Chris's voice gets kind of annoying after a while, but I listened to like 8 hours of Chris Walker ranting about marketing. And then about hour 6, I realized this dude is only talking about like 4 things over and over again. And then I went and listened to some of the stuff from 5 years ago, and it was the same stuff. Multi-touch attribution. Guy's been yelling about it for literally half a decade. So I took all of the stuff, and this is the actual spreadsheet that I did this with. I took all of the stuff that he was saying, and I wrote down things that I might be able to say that sort of fit into those slots. And those became my content pillars. Turns out if someone else has cracked content and you can fact pattern some of the stuff that they create, it will probably work for you. And by the way, I would recommend if you were to go through my posts and look at all of them that have over 1,000 likes and just look at how I wrote them and what I wrote. If you can map your fact pattern to what I wrote, that post will probably do well. So figuring this out for you is the goal, and it's harder than it looks for the reasons that I explained. Something else I would do, I would spend 25% of my time on the hook. It is so important. You know, you can use AI to help you with this, but not write it. A great hook with a mediocre post is a great post. A great post with a mediocre hook is not even worth writing. Let me reemphasize that. If you do not get people to click see more, you wasted your time writing that post. Hooks are so important. What's my hook checklist? Did I maximize my professional credibility? You'll see me say, I bootstrapped 10 million ARR in 6 months with 4 people, blah, blah, blah. Use a bunch of numbers. Numbers about everything. Money, months, years, employees. Say something provocative. Obviously, that's how media works. Is it in your prolific zone? You can also broker very valuable information. Sorry, guys. Let me bring back that slide if you want to take a picture of it. And what does brokering information mean? So if I hadn't done what I had done, a lot of my hooks would be brokering information. The broker information hooks, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get to this brokering information. Okay, the third one down here. I spoke with 40 CEOs, CMOs over the past 30 days, and they all think X, right? And it's surprising because of Y. Or like, I spoke to 5 early-stage startup CEOs about outbound email. They're all doing 4 things wrong and 1 thing right. Who's not reading that post? Everybody is. Some other great hooks. I bootstrapped X and Y years with Z people. The second one's so good, but I'm running out of time. I can't really elaborate on it anymore. I'm going to leave you with 2 more things. This is the hack right now. Take a picture of that. Don't use it too much, but comment X for asset Y. It just gets a ton of comments. So that's all I got, guys. I'm sorry. I ran out of time, but if you don't start posting for likes, okay. Here's the free course. Thank you so much. I'm Adam Robinson. AJ's going to come back up. I'll be around if anybody has any questions.